Hey, thank you for stopping by. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Arielle and welcome to my kitchen. Today we'll be creating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich all from scratch with everyday ingredients here in my pantry. You ready? Let's go. Today we'll begin with a basic white bread for our peanut butter and jelly sandwich made from scratch. I found all of these ingredients here in my pantry. If you find there's something that you'd like to add or substitute to this recipe, feel free to do so. Make it your own. All right, let's start with these ingredients. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a large bowl and we're going to mix our warm water first. And we're gonna add in our sugar. And we're gonna give that a good mix. You wanna incorporate as much of the sugar in the water as possible. So we're stirring it. Right, almost there. And you should be able to see no grains at the bottom of your bowl, or little to no grains at the bottom of your bowl. Hopefully your water is warm enough. Room temperature might do the trick as well. So if you can't get your hands on warm water, room temperature water might work for you. Okay, next what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our yeast packet and we're going to, we're gonna pour this yeast in here and we're gonna give it a good stir. And then afterwards, we're gonna allow it to sit for about 10 minutes. That should allow the yeast and the sugar to activate and create a proof. And you should be able to see like some bubbles and maybe some creamy foam. And that's when you know your yeast is fully activated, all right? I'll be back in a moment. So now that our yeast is nice and proofed, I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty foamy in this bowl. We're gonna add our salt and our oil to the mixture. We're just gonna give that a good stir. Okay, then we're gonna add slowly the flour. Right? So I'm gonna use a measuring cup to just help with the incorporation of the flour into our mixture. Okay. And then we're gonna give this a good stir, right? We're gonna continue doing this until all of the flour is incorporated and we have a nice, smooth ball of dough in this bowl, all right? So I'll be right back. Okay, so if you get to this point, after stirring in all of the flour you can possibly get into the mixture, you might get your dough looking like this. At this point, you wanna just take your hands and knead it while it's still in the bowl, just to incorporate everything. I'm finding that this dough is not collecting as much as I'd like for it to. Thought I dropped something. So what I'm doing now is just adding just a little bit of water. So I'm gonna take my 1 tablespoon measuring, and I have a little bowl of water here. You can't see it. Here we go. A little bowl of water here, and I'm just gonna pour it on the edges and around so that it can help the flour just come together just a little bit more. You don't want it to be too tacky where it's like completely sticking to your fingers. However, you don't want it to be falling apart. Like right now, this is not incorporated yet. So give it a good knead, and I'm gonna give it a good knead, and then I'll be right back, okay? Okay, so at this point, after kneading your dough inside of the bowl, your dough should look a little like this. More incorporated, not completely smooth. However, it is definitely more together than it was before. So what we're gonna do is take another large bowl. We're going to use some vegetable oil, and we're gonna grease up this bowl nicely, okay? So what we want is not, of course, a whole lot of oil, but we want enough oil in here that we coat all of the parts of the bowl, and then enough to coat the dough. So we're gonna put the dough in this bowl once we finish coating it, like so. You can see it has a nice shine on it. And then we're gonna put the dough in here. And then we're gonna roll the dough and coat the dough as well in the oil. And we get it a nice shine. And so what this does is it allows the dough not to stick to the bowl as we allow the yeast in the dough to rise. Okay? So after coating the dough and we've coated the bowl, everything is nice and oiled up, we're going to use a damp cloth, not to wipe our hands. We're gonna use a damp cloth. I just used a regular kitchen towel that was already clean, and I just damped it, made it damp. And then we're gonna cover it, and we're gonna allow, like I said, the dough and the yeast to rise for about 1 hour, okay? And it should double in size. All right, I'll see you in an hour. All right, so while off camera, the dough rose up, and I was able to knead it down in the bowl and just, make it pliable again. And now what I'm gonna do is grease up these 2 tins, these loaves, put the dough in there and let it rise for another 30 minutes. And while it's rising, please preheat your oven for 350 degrees because after this rises, we're putting it right in the oven. Ready? Let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to let this rise, and then I'm gonna put it in the oven. Let's go. Okay, you guys, this is the final result for the bread. And I have to say, I went through some struggle with this bread, which I'll probably tell you guys about in another video. And it came out, in my personal opinion, pretty good. I've made bread before, and so I'm not quite impressed in terms of the satisfaction of it being perfect. However, considering the stuff I went through with this bread, came out pretty good. So I'm interested to see what it will look like and even taste like when we get the peanut butter and jelly on it. Let's find out. Okay, so now we're gonna create a strawberry jelly for our peanut butter and jelly sandwich made from scratch. I found all of these ingredients here in my kitchen. If you'd like to substitute or add anything to this recipe, feel free to do so. Today we'll be making strawberry jelly. So of course we have strawberries, lemon, sugar, and salt. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so for this next step, you're gonna need a large bowl, a knife, a spoon, and a pot. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is take the spoon and put it in the freezer. The reason why is while the strawberries are on the stove and boiling, the way we'll know if it's finished is once the hot syrup touches the spoon and it coats it. If you drag your finger along it and it separates, that means it's done. So we want the spoon nice and cold for when it's time to test it. And I have a few in there, so just in case when I do the first test it's not completely finished, we have a few more spoons in the freezer to do the backup. All right, so the next step is to cut up these strawberries and make them smaller. We want them to be a good size. I'm doing quarters, you can do halves. I wouldn't do anything smaller than that, because the next thing after this that we're gonna do is we're gonna mash them up and incorporate the sugar. The sugar will bring out the juices in the strawberries and allow us to be able to mash them a lot easier, as well as give it that sweet taste, okay? So I'm gonna do this and I will be right back, okay? So we're just gonna add the sugar, just a little bit of it. And I'm using a beater from a hand mixer. I'm just gonna give this a good mash and move. It's not. All right, and I'll be back. Okay, so after mashing for a minute, this is what it looks like. You see the juice is starting to come out, and of course the strawberry pieces are getting smaller. If you have a potato masher, that's a lot better than my hand beater, but I don't own a potato masher, so I guess I'll be on my Christmas list, right? All right, so I'm mashing and I'm getting the juices out, and once I complete this, I'll relocate all of it into this pot right here, and then we'll begin our boiling process. But first, we gotta get this incorporated. Also, if you wanna use a blender or a hand mixer, feel free to do so. There's nothing against doing those things. I just like my, my jelly, strawberry jelly, to be a bit more chunkier. Of course, not this chunky, but I like to have pieces of this fruit in it, not completely pureed out. So keep that in mind if you choose to use a blender or a hand mixer that is high powered. All right, see you in a minute. Okay, so that's our puree, or our mixture, our mashed mixture puree, going into the pot. All right, next step is the boiling. All right, so as you can see here, the fruit mixture is on